right, guys. Welcome to Liberty Mastermind Podcast. This is Pat here. And the first question we'd like to start off with all of our guests is, this is cool, we're doing a two-person interview. If the two of you guys want to tell me your story and kind of how you got here, either individually or with your career or with DoorJamm, and you can kind of flip for it and fight on your end.
I'll let you go first, Steve.
All right, Chris. All right. What's going on, Liberty Mastermind? This is Steve. I'm a police officer in Southern California, and I've been there just about 6.5 years. And before that, I was working in nonprofits and social services, helping people. And as a police officer, my partner and I recognized a problem out there, and we made a solution for it. We'll tell you all about it with our company. And there you go. Go for it, Chris.
I'm Chris. I've been a police officer for just a little over 9 years. Throughout my career, I've worked many different assignments. I'm currently a financial crimes detective.
Oh, very cool.
I'm on our collateral SWAT team.
Mm-hmm.
Collateral duty. We have our own SWAT team. I've been a field training officer. I'm an EVOC instructor. I have all sorts of knowledge in areas. Probably a little too much. Yeah.
That's funny.
But like Steve said, we came across a need and some little janky products out there that have failed, or improvised products out in the field that have failed. So we decided it's time to come up with something that's going to work well.
Awesome. And do you guys want to go into, well, you know what? Let's take this route. So for the people that don't know what a DoorJamm is, do you guys want to just start with a quick rundown of what it is and how it works? I have a couple sitting in front of me right now, and I'll be sure to put some pictures and videos on today's site.
Sure. Yeah, no problem, Pat. What a DoorJamm is basically a tool for any public safety guy or girl, whether you're in fire or police, and you go through a gate or a door that's secured and it's going to lock behind you. That locks your backup out. All your assisting officers or anybody else who's going to come in behind you is locked out, and they're going to need to get a code or a key or something like that to get through that gate. We use a DoorJamm. It's a piece of rubber, essentially, with a couple of holes in it, and you stretch it over that door from doorknob and around the door to the other doorknob, and it prevents that door from locking shut. It just jams it. So that saves precious time off of emergency calls. It lets your backup get to you. This is, everybody uses all kinds of things to hold the door open to do that function, whether it's a trash can or a rug or a brick or a rock, business card, a latex glove. Strips of duct tape on a flashlight.
Can, cardboard with rubber bands.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I've been there myself on the street for a couple of years, and I have used almost all those things to keep doors propped open behind me. And the nice thing that I like is it's an indicator, because a lot of people don't know that we're not Superman in law enforcement. So we don't
have a master key.
We don't have a master. Well, we don't have a master key. I do teach a pretty cool lockpicking course, which I'll explain why this product is really cool, and that's going into my my course outline. But it's a visual indicator too. So sometimes you show up on scene and you see your partner's car and you got a bunch of doors and you're like, well, shit, which one is it? So I like too that if you see this thing somewhere, you know what it is and you know why it's there, which I think is pretty cool for first responders.
Yep. Yeah, and residents or the tenants of that building are not going to really take that off the doorknob because it looks intentional.
It does look very intentional. Yeah.
It doesn't look like
official.
Joe Schmo didn't put the old trash bucket in the door to let his friends in. Those things get kicked out of the way all the time. So people take them out because they're worried about the security in their building. But when you have something like this on the door, like you said, it is an indicator, and it shows that it's meant to be there. And hopefully a black and white car with flashing lights outside.
That's the first clue. The DoorJamm is number 2.
Yeah. The yelling and screaming on the 3rd floor is clue number 3.
Oh, man.
So, that's...
I'll tell you what I like about it. My personal mantra, I know there's different people with different principles that they operate on, or different ways that they like to operate in the field. And when I was a kid in high school, and I was like, I'm gonna join the military someday, and I was looking at all those, military photos online, and I was like, oh, that dude must have 600 rounds of bullets. Oh, that's so cool. When I went into the field for my first operation, I was off the coast of Colombia doing some drug operations. And they gave me a balaclava and elbow pads and knee pads and, heavy body armor with plates in the front and the back and a Kevlar helmet and, goggles and like big flight gloves. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Well, there was a guy skinnier than me on my team. He was the smallest guy I've ever seen. And we tried to push him through the cabin of a boat to go talk to his to the captain to do his, question and answer and to kind of get a search going looking for some drugs. And the kid looks back at me and he goes, hey, Pat, I'm kind of stuck in the doorway here. Can you give me a push? And I'm like, yeah, but how are you going to get out? He's like, oh, I'll just come get you again and you can kind of kick or push me through. And I'm like, if that's the skinniest guy on the team and he's getting stuck on doorways out here, I'm like, I got to change my principles. So my big
600
principle.
rounds of ammo is heavy anyway, so.
And yeah, a lot of people say it's better to have it and not need it. And my response is always, unless you might be swimming for your operation, which we often did. So I changed my principles and I said, listen, if I'm going to operate, it's going to be as minimal as possible, as slick as possible. I'm going to want to be as mobile as possible. And I did kind of develop some secondary principles to go with that. Like I have a field bag of all the shit I might need nearby, but might not need on me. So I usually deploy with a field bag that I can clip somewhere with a carabiner or something. So let's bring the whole story full circle. Sorry for jumping on the soapbox, but I like that this is small. I like that it's light, and I like that it's flexible. So if I'm going to add a piece of gear to my outfitting, it's not going to be something that's big and clunky and heavy. And this thing has multiple uses. It's really thin. It's really flexible. So I'm really happy about that. That's just one big long compliment.
on that note, being on a SWAT team, a lot of teams around the country are going slimmer and lighter, because you realize real fast going down a hallway, you got two big guys with vests and equipment, and you got to squeeze by each other to get through doors. It's become a problem.
Yeah, I don't get how people don't know that. I mean, working in trailers and working in the projects and things like that, even patrol officers have a hard time sometimes.
Space. Yeah, and patrol officers are probably more stripped down than anyone else. Mm-hmm. So you get SWAT guys that have all this specialized equipment and, an answer for everything, at least, they think, and then you get them in a hallway, and the biggest problem is getting down the hallway. Squeezing by each other turns out to be the biggest problem of the operation. And with this product, it definitely takes away some of that space, and it's super light. That's the other thing is weight management. Equipment, vests, panels. I mean, those are even getting lighter these days. Cops are notorious for having back issues. This thing, you can carry multiple DoorJamms and still be lighter than a lot of the competition we have out there. How many guys you see these door wedges? How many guys you see carrying multiple door wedges? Most guys have one door wedge. Well, we come across multiple doors during operations. You can carry 5 DoorJamms and it'll still be less space than one door wedge. And about the same weight.
And a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, and all 4 of my pockets on my regular patrol pants have stuff in them right now. So I thought, where am I going to shove this thing? But I already know the perfect spot where I'll never know it's there until I need it. A lot of soft armor, they have that cut out in the front for your hard plate. So occasionally guys will keep an extra door vehicle key in there. They'll tie a string around it and let it sink down in that pocket in the front of your vest. They'll put the little Velcro tab on top so they can just kind of string it out like they're fishing. And I think my DoorJamm would go real nice in there.
Yeah. Pat, do you wear that on the outside, or is it concealable armor?
No, I just do the concealable soft armor underneath my shirt.
Does your uniform shirt have a zipper?
Yes, it does.
So what we've seen is guys just unzipping and slipping it right there. So all you have to do is unzip your shirt, grab the hook, grab the hole of the DoorJamm, laying against your body, and you'll never know it's there. You don't have to don't have to pull any Velcro or anything like that. A lot of people do that. They'll carry it.
Unzip, real simple. And since your shirt's tucked into your pants, it's not going anywhere.
I did. Yep. I'm sorry. I had just a quick question. So I did find you guys, I think, through Instagram. I don't know who found who first, but I follow you guys big time on Instagram. So I've seen some of the pretty cool uses that people have for these. Like especially the one that sticks out in my head the most is the push bar for like commercial doors, like the double doors.
Oh yeah.
These will even work on that. You just hook one corner.
Don't
around
even
that
need
push
door
bar.
handles.
Awesome. That's so. Do you guys want to talk about any cool stories from the field that people are sending back to you?
Yeah, we so through the process of developing the company, getting it out there, social media, a lot of our pictures on our Instagram are actually customer pictures, and we do post little stories occasionally with the pictures if the customer provides them. And that's the biggest testament to the product is people are sending in their picture and saying, "Hey, look, this thing worked phenomenally." And we post all these weird predicaments, no door handles, magnetic doors, where it has a magnetic piece on the top. I mean, we've laid it over the top of that and it defeats the magnet. But it's kind of our intention in the development was for doorknobs, and through the process, we've realized how many different applications it actually has. How versatile it is, and we've actually been surprisingly impressed by our product. I mean, we thought it was a great product before, but seeing some of the stuff that we didn't even think we'd come across, and it's being used. I mean, some have been used to put two doors together, and you're defeating two doors with one door jamb. Like very innovative stuff.
Awesome.
It's amazing.
So one of the things, if I can add on, is there's, believe it or not, there's a lot of very cheap firefighters and very cheap cops out there who don't want to buy a little something that's going to help them immensely. And they say, well, why don't I just cut a piece of inner tube or something? Well, yeah, we've tried that too. And truck inner tube is not as reliable, or it wasn't intended for this purpose. It wasn't intended to stretch 3 times its length and stay together. An inner tube is just supposed to hold air, and it's staying inside of a tire. So we've seen those, and we've even made some of our own, and those things will fatigue and they'll start to tear and rip it at the very wrong time, when you need it. And so the door jamb that we developed, the rubber compounds that we've used I don't know about Chris, but I've been carrying the same one for over a year. One of the very first ones that we made.
Jeez.
And it just hasn't degraded. It hasn't been destroyed. It hasn't failed. And we've never had a failure from any of our customers around the country, and even other countries we've shipped around the world. So
the one I carry is one of our original prototypes, one of our first rubber samples. Very crude. I mean, I can get a new one, but I'm kind of curious, how long is this thing going to last?
I love that test. Yeah.
it's it's been well over a year. Our company is over a year old, and we took about 8 to 10 months of development before we even went live. So mine is almost 2 years, and it's just like new.
Man, I actually have one. I didn't know it stretched to 3 times its length. I've seen some of the pictures. I've seen a lot of the pictures on Instagram, but I have it right here in my hands, and that's
give it a tug.
Man, it's unbelievable.
Stretch
it's
it
like a
out.
freaking what do you call it? Like a bow and arrow, or like a slingshot.
Did you just tell him to give it a tug?
Yeah.
I love that.
You guys your mind out of the gutter, Steve.
Well, it's made of this delicious smelling rubber and or whatever type of compound you have, and it's got 2 holes in it, and it stretches and bends around knobs and latches and other holes. So I'm sure you guys have lots of good "that's what she said" jokes in the office.
Some people have tried to put it on like some people have tried to put it on like a mask around their ears. That's been funny.
Oh, nice.
It actually works well as child handcuffs as well. 3.5 and slap it on there, and he doesn't know what to do.
That's awesome.
Safe and humane.
Some of the guys on Graveyard have had fun with it too. I've walked in at the shift change. Hey man, can I get one of those door rubber things? And one of the other guys asked, "Hey, oh, you want a door condom? Jesus, come on!" It's a nice little, door rubber and door condom and all kinds of fun stuff. But really, it's one of the more amazing simple things that any of us have used on the job. It's just simple, plain simple, and it works.
And the biggest thing is, like Steve said, and I'm one of them. Cops and firefighters are cheap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the thinking is everything that we use should be issued to us by departments, which we 100% agree. And a lot of the people we actually deal with, our customers, are entire departments that are buying it for our guys
That's
or for their
awesome.
guys. You know, because it goes up to the chief. The chief sees it and says, "Hey, every one of our guys needs one of these," and ultimately that's the end goal. We want departments to give it to the officers, you know. But with change takes time. That doesn't happen overnight, you know. And it's very reasonably priced. It's a very simple product that's effective, that's useful, that's versatile, and you know, when it comes down to it, your life may be on the line, your safety may be on the line, someone else's may be, and you don't want your partners trying to figure out how to get to you for 2 minutes when you need them yesterday. And that's the biggest. That's my biggest reason for wanting to get this company. I'm big into protecting my brothers and sisters in the first responder world. You know, I've done tons of charity stuff. Steve's done tons of charity stuff for fallen officers, stuff like that. Gone to many police funerals, you know, and yes, this may not have prevented a lot of deaths out there, but you know, there have been times where people have told us, "Hey, there was a shooting, and this thing got us our back in there fast," you know, and just one story like that makes it 100% worth it.
That's awesome, man. That must be really cool to hear. I tagged in on one phrase you said there, and I love that you said it. You said a lot of officers think that they should be issued 100% of the gear that they need to use. I also wholeheartedly agree, but I don't know how much of my content you guys have seen on this website, but on both the websites I run, I how do I put this professionally? I think that a lot of things that the government and law enforcement and military does, I think a lot of those things, not all of them, but a lot of it is not, it's kind of counter to liberty. So we'll leave that as it is. But I think it's also like, my big push is to tell the public what goes on behind the scenes in law enforcement and military, that they have no clue of what happens. So that statement that you said is a huge nugget of information I can give the audience where, no, we don't get everything for free. A lot of times we don't even get batteries for our flashlights. So every time we're out there, you know, we're just chunking money into this job that's coming out of our paycheck from the job. So a lot of people don't know that we do that. And then there's different levels of it too. So when I was operational for my drug unit and my piracy stuff overseas, we had easily $10,000+ for each operator of gear we brought into the field. And more than, well, maybe not half, but there was a large majority of that, a large percentage of that gear that we paid for and bought our own. And even sometimes outside of policy, we had to say, listen, we're not supposed to have this, but it works and it's on the free market and we bought it and now we use it in the military or in law enforcement. So even at a detriment to our policy, so we can get in trouble, we're often buying our own tools and our own gear. So I think that's going to be really interesting for a lot of people to hear, that they don't know that it's not, you know, standard issue, general issue, that there's this whole
for all the people
market.
listening out there. There's no giant room full of random equipment that you can just go and grab whatever you want and 10 of it. That doesn't happen.
Dude, you know what else I'm shocked about? At one of the places, well, several places I've worked in the past, but one of the places I currently am employed by, there is a big room full of gear, but you go to the window and you're like, hey, I need this thing. And they look at you and they're like, well, you didn't fill out the form. I'm like, what? Look, here's the one I have. It's broken. Can you give me a new one? You're going to have to get with your sergeant first. I'm like, oh my God, look. And then I tell them this principle is they love, listen, officers don't exist because God said, let there be people to work the stock room. Oh, let's give them people to stock out on the street. It's the other way around. Like, I exist and they made a position for you so that you could support me. And I think that so many people get that backwards in admin and logistics. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right, second rant for the night. Sorry.
Love it.
I'm passionate. That's one thing. So speaking of policies, have you heard any stories from the field or, you know, in your own experience with people in command, like things like policy, like you talked about, like trying to get officers this gear and them carrying it, or their bosses seeing it or saying something pro or negative about it? Do you have anything about that?
I haven't heard anything negative out loud. If there is any negative comments about it, they've just kept it from us or kept it silent. But the positive, on the positive side, we've had phone calls directly from chiefs of small departments. Maybe they have 40 sworn officers, and it's the chief calling saying, "Hey, I saw your stuff, man. Really cool. I want to get one for every officer." Okay, great. We'll be happy to help you. How many is that? 40. Wow, that's great. I mean, but the message is clear that somebody thought it was important enough to issue to every sworn officer that he has. That's great. That's the main message, and I liked it. And there's been some watch sergeant or some patrol sergeants who have seen maybe a person or two on their team with it, and they caught their eye. Hey, what is that? Where'd you get that? I don't want to let any one of, what's it for? Oh man, I get it. Oh, I don't want to let anyone else out the door who doesn't have one of those. That needs to go into every car, every black and white car that we have. And I've had an LAPD sergeant, for example. She bought 40 of them. She bought 40 of them because she didn't want to let anybody else out in the street without having something like that on them. And she bought it out of her own pocket. Yeah.
That's fun. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Going back to what you said in our last conversation, with admin and politics and bureaucrats and paperwork, when it comes to the smaller departments, there's a lot less links in the chain to get something out there.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was saying before, police departments don't like change. Hey, we've been doing this for 100 years. Why change now? Well, 100 years ago, there weren't aim points on rifles, but you put an aim point on a rifle, someone's shooting accuracy is going to improve tremendously.
Oh, I love that.
Just because it's new, are you going to, discount it or anything like that? And like you said, you go out, you spend all this money. Sometimes it's out of policy, but it's the best tool for what you need for a given situation. So when you have these bigger departments, there's a lot more chains. And it may not make it all the way to the top, or someone that can actually make that decision. Someone may discount it or shoot it down before it even gets up there. And that's where our fight is, going to these departments and forcing it up the chain. And then once it gets to the person that makes those decisions, hey, this is freaking great. We're carried by LAPD SWAT. A bunch of their guys has it. Dallas SWAT, a bunch of their guys has it. Palm Beach Sheriffs out in Florida, they have it. There's agencies in Wisconsin. We're all over the country. We're international. We have orders in Spain, France, the Netherlands, Australia, Canada. There's a review out in Greece on us that we had no idea. Someone in Greece is talking about our product. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's insane. And people see the product. Once they get it in their hands, they absolutely love it. Once they use it, and we warranty our product. That's how confident we are in our product. So we're not out here just garage salesmen. We're actually out here trying to make a difference and helping the first responders and giving them a quality product, something that we'd want in our arsenal should we need it, something that's not going to fail.
And this is an age-old problem. Even the commanders that are making those decisions now, those of what people can carry and can't, they had to go through those same doors, decades ago when they were working the streets. And how did they do it? They improvised. They tried to figure some way out, and that problem really hadn't been solved.
And they broke policy too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We have comments. Where was this 30 years ago?
That's funny.
And they realize how much it would have been useful 30 years ago when they were, patrol cops out on a beat.
Yep.
I had one of my few supervisors that I had any respect for. I'm kind of a hard grader, so to speak. Really turned on guy. And it wasn't difficult. It was just that he listened. And if he didn't have an answer, he got you an answer. And when you talked to him, he walked around with a yellow legal pad. And you said, hey, I have a question about this. He wrote it down and he said, I'll get you an answer. Or he said, here's the answer. And he wrote down the answer and he carried on. And I thought, holy shit, let's talk about accountability here for a second. That makes sense. So he told me something once. Him and I were out grabbing some beers and some wings for Wing It Wednesday locally. And he said, hey, let me tell you something. I said, sure. He said, do you see any hot-ass chicks walking around serving us beer in little skimpy outfits? And I said, do you think our waitress is hot? Dude, she's like 60. And he's like, no. He's like, do you see any hot chicks in short shorts here? We were at like some fisherman bar. And I'm like, no, I don't. And he's like, and this place is packed Monday through Monday, every single hour of the day. I'm like, uh-huh. And he's like, have you ever heard of the phrase sex sells? And I said, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm an adult. I'm aware of how that works.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I want you to think about this. If you ever see a place or a product that's just on fire with sales and they're always busy and they're always taking care of their customers and there's always a line out the door, he said, if they have that and they don't have hot chicks in bikinis walking around, he said, then you know that's a good indicator that they have a very good product or service. And I said, holy shit. I said, go figure, my freaking mind is in the gutter, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together with that sooner. So I thought that was a really cool life lesson. And like, if you guys are getting calls from chiefs of police that, aren't doing it for the hot chicks of, hot chicks in bikinis, I thought, maybe you're onto something. So that could be a good clue.
Well, we haven't been into trade shows with our bikini and booze attraction, so maybe we're doing okay.
That is a great signal, actually.
A big part of our sales is word of mouth. People get into their hands and they go tell their buddies. They go up their chain and tell their sergeants. Their sergeants are buying it for the rest of the team. That's a big part of our sales.
And it looks to me like
product speaks for itself.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it looks to me like people are lining up to buy it after they see it in use, not before, which happens a lot in the tactical community. They say, oh, that looks cool, let me buy it. But people that are using your product, they say, oh, it works effectively, let me get my hands on one, which I think is also really cool.
Yeah.
And just for the audience and for you guys, I've had enough interviews and product reviews on my own website that when a product sucks, I'm really happy to say it. So if you'll excuse my French, I don't really have time to suck anybody's dick on the air or like I'm actually genuinely, like, I like this product a lot. I'm really happy about it. And I would be happy to say if I didn't.
Excellent. Thanks, Pat.
I mean it.
And that being said, we are always looking for constructive criticism. We are always looking to improve, so for customers out there and listeners, you get our product and you think, hey, this would be a good idea or that would be a good idea, let us know. We're always looking to improve. I think that's a good sign in a company is, you're obviously we have the customer base out there and we want our product to help them the best that it can, and the only way we can do that is by getting feedback. So let it fly.
Awesome. Well, I actually have a couple that I purchased from you guys recently. So I'll either give away just some of those, or if I can get some more from you, I'll do that too. But we've been starting to do some giveaways here on the podcast. We had a chick that hiked I think it was Appalachian Trail, from the very beginning to the very end. It was really cool. So we interviewed her and we gave away a couple copies of her book. So that made me pretty happy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then I ended up going on a date with someone that she met on the trail that lives near me, and I thought, oh, small world.
Oh, wow.
Did you give her a book?
She had a different door prize to take home.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
That was a grand prize, I'm sure, huh?
It was grand. Yeah, it was really grand.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
She loved it. I thought it was decent, the usual. Man, that's what I love about doing my own show, because on the job, I can't stand the freaking bureaucracy and the liability. That drives me nuts, man. So I like to let loose and freaking talk like an adult and love it here.
Censorship. You can't say anything without getting anyone offended these days.
Yeah, my other
Say hi
website.
the wrong way and someone's, burning down houses because
Jesus.
you were offensive.
Uncensored Tactical is my other website. I think you've seen it. I didn't choose that name on accident. That was for a reason. Okay. Well, let's do this. We have a list of questions we ask all our guests. We get into some philosophical and some liberty-minded stuff here on the show quite a bit. I'm sure the title will tell you that. So I'll ask each of you guys kind of our 5 liberty questions here. I told you about it before that we'd be asking that. So we could do soundbite, short answers, or we can go deep into it or not. We can kind of get a feel for that. You guys want to bang on into that?
Sure. I didn't do the study session beforehand, so I'll figure it out.
That's good. That means
motherfucker.
That means your answers will be either more honest or more witty. All right. So our first question, this is an impact question. So what do you see as the biggest impact on your liberty, either positive or negative? So something that does or can affect your lifestyle that you're either happy about or not happy about?
Business related or just in general?
Either. Pick whichever one you like. We have a lot of wiggle room in these questions, so we kind of give you a chance to take it whatever route you want.
Well, I'll talk in general now.
Sure.
Just due to the nature in politics these days.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to liberties and rights, how both sides bicker and fight over what should be a right or what shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
Something that affects me a lot as a law enforcement officer, is the Second Amendment, which is a big topic these days, and people talking about guns and talking what they think they know about guns, and
oh geez, yeah.
And the misinformation and stuff like that. Living in California, it's pretty strict in gun laws, but I'm a gun collector. I love shooting my guns. I think that people should have a right, to have those guns, and given certain parameters. Obviously, we don't need felons and criminals having guns, but that brings up the other point: is criminals get guns. We see it all the time in law enforcement. How many times have you arrested a felon in possession of a firearm? These laws are paper. Paper doesn't stop anybody from breaking the law. And adding more paper and taking away from law-abiding citizens is not the answer. I see it from law enforcement. I see it as a private citizen, on both sides. People need to be able to defend themselves, and this is something that our forefathers gave us a right to do, and I don't think it should be trampled on.
I'll buy that all day long.
Yeah.
And for me, if I piggyback on Chris's comments, on Second Amendment stuff, I believe that. Well, first of all, for me, I'm not a gun collector. I never had guns before I started as a law enforcement officer. But my first shots came out of a BB gun, and then my first real gun came out of a Tommy gun.
Oh,
Those
cool.
are my first shots. So my dad and his very best friend when I was a kid was a border patrol officer, and he was a gun collector, a gun nut, and he's like, "Hey kid, all right, we're gonna go out here to the canyon, and you're gonna blow holes in that refrigerator, all right? So get down on one knee, put that buttstock right on your shoulder, and let me put my hand right behind your shoulder, and hold it down. Let's see what happens."
That's cool, man.
And that's what happened. And I was never really afraid of guns or anything like that. I think my dad may have had a revolver in the house when I was a kid, but I wasn't curious. I was curious as a kid for sure, but I knew better. So I got taught at a young age, don't be afraid of the gun. It's not going to shoot anybody unless you pull the trigger. It's not going to jump out and kill someone. And anyway, as an adult then, and as a law enforcement officer, I've only purchased guns that I've needed as a tool for work. Got a shotgun, got a patrol rifle, a duty gun, and an off-duty gun, and one backup gun. And they're all work related except for the off-duty gun, which I carry, and I want to carry that thing everywhere because
oh geez, yeah.
I want to carry it everywhere. I feel naked without it because I want to be able to defend my family whenever I need to.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So when I traveled to Texas recently on some Harvey relief efforts, or when I've been through Arizona or other places, man, people are just walking around with a gun on their hip like no big deal. Like, wow, that's pretty awesome.
Guess who's not getting robbed?
Yeah, exactly. Guess who's not getting robbed? And how crazy is it that person's not running around robbing everyone?
That's
what's
wild.
wrong with that?
There's a big stigma with firearms. I think a lot of it is a lack of experience, a lack of education, a lack of handling. I've taken countless people to go out and shoot, people that hated guns, and they go out and they're like, wow, that gun didn't kill anybody while it was in my hand. We have a people problem is the issue. It's not a gun problem, it's a people problem. You can't fix guns and think the people are going to change. You got to fix the people, and it's the simplest way to boil it down.
I love those memes that I see on social media. It's like, guns don't kill people. people to kill people, just like cars. Cars don't kill people, drivers do. Forks don't make people fat. People behind those forks make people fat. Like
I can't remember the last time we blamed a bathtub for someone slipping and falling.
Yeah, hey,
exactly.
The DUI driver kills somebody. Are we going to ban all Fords?
Like, shockingly, we also don't ban alcohol when that happens either.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Weird.
Shocker.
Oh man. All right, so let's bang another one out. So there's only 5 of them here. So number 2, on difficult days, do you guys have any kind of character building days, as my buddy Ox on the podcast here likes to call them? So do you guys have any type of internal, external motivators, or anything you like to do to kind of push yourself through a tough time or a tough day? Or like, what's your kind of secret to get through that?
Me personally, it's like going to the gym, right? I hate going to the gym, but I go to the gym every day. Because you got to think of the end game. It sucks while you're doing it, and it sucks looking at it. It looks like a big mountain, but once you do it, it feels so good, And then once it's over, it feels great. And work and life, it just you're gonna have those mountains, and you just got to look at the end game, dig deep and realize what you're working for, what you're working towards, and that should be your motivation. You have to have goals. Set your goals and keep fighting towards those goals. Otherwise, you're going to get buried, and then it's going to be hard to climb out.
I'm with you on that one. I am a almost 7-day-a-week gym guy.
Yeah.
All right, and for me, on difficult days, getting motivated, I too, like Chris, I look at the end game. What's it all for? Is this right in the big picture? If it's not necessarily consistent with my own personal goals, I have to look at maybe from an organizational goal. Am I going to build some character out of this? And that does kind of motivate me sometimes. Like, well, I'm going to be a better man for it. I'm going to learn how to get through this somehow, some way, and that's kind of motivating. But sometimes the motivating thing for me is looking forward to being able to retreat. Basically, retreat from work, retreat from all that stuff, and just enjoy family time. And maybe that's us riding on bicycles somewhere and just enjoying some wind in the hair and playtime at the park or something like that. Just looking forward to those times are pretty motivating, actually.
Those are actually pretty common questions. We get the gym a lot and we get family time a ton. So you guys are splitting right down the middle here. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. So again, Ox, our buddy on the podcast here, you missed him today, but he's a mental health physician and he's got a lot of friends that are in special forces and in the medical field. So one of his mentors said to him, Ox, you got to start every day happy, man. So what we do Liberty Mastermind podcast, we are kind of a small mastermind group is how it formed. So the 3 of us, we all have our own side projects, but we did a call once a week and we said, okay, how can we help each other with these projects? How can we motivate each other? How can we, help and guide each other? And we started having these phone calls once a week and we were like, man, there's some good value in that. We should fucking start sharing that shit. So that's what our mastermind is. So what we do, the 3 of us, one of our favorite mantras or quotes for us is one of the 3 of us almost every morning will send out a group text for the 3 of us and say, fellas, start every day happy. And even though it's not kind of like mushy and we're not really bi-curious or any of that, we've all got our own love interests, but they it's really nice. You got your buddies out there and they're like, dude, have the right mindset, go have a kick-ass day and smile a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? Even when I'm feeling kind of shitty, that kind of helps. So this question is called quotes and mantras. So do you guys have any quotes or mantras that you like to say or use throughout the day?
Mine isn't as bright as that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I believe the SEALs use it all the time. The only easy day was yesterday. You got to know that you're always going to be in that struggle, and you just got to keep fighting. That's the way, nothing's given to you on a silver platter, at least for the most of us. You go out and fight and you make your own success. And if you want to be successful, you go out and you work and you fight for it. And that's the way you're gonna be successful in life. If you sit back and wait for something to be handed to you, you're gonna be waiting for a very long time.
Amen.
And mine comes from a songwriter. It's real simple. It kind of fits the whole form of a mantra and what it's supposed to be. And it goes love, life, happiness, nothing more, nothing less. That's it. So I got love, got life, I got happiness. I'm good. So no matter what the day is, no matter what's going on, as long as I got that stuff, I'm good. And when sometimes people ask you, how you doing? How you doing, Steve? I'm happy and healthy. Can't ask for anything more. That's it. That's all I want. Be happy and healthy.
Perspective is a hell of a tool.
Yep.
Okay. Number 4. Do you guys have any? I think I have an idea of what might be a great answer for this. Do you guys have any immediate action that the audience can take to kind of better themselves, either tactically or within the liberty sphere or whatever you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of stuff out there. I mean, depending on what you want to get, the biggest thing is just remain educated in whatever you're going to do. If it comes to business or police work or, military, we have so many people out there talking about stuff that they don't know. And it's frustrating because then it's people with influence. So then you got a lot of people out there that are just spreading, the big term these days is fake news. But it's kind of what it comes down to these days with media, and it's on both sides. You go and educate yourself, look into your own situation and how stuff's going to affect you out here in California. The big thing that we've had in the last couple of years are Prop 47 and 57, which is the release of nonviolent offenders. Well, the state of California deemed drive-by shootings nonviolent.
Whoa.
Mayhem is nonviolent. Domestic violence, where the wives or husbands have been beaten pretty badly, is nonviolent. That makes no sense to me.
Thanks,
but that's
government. God, nailed that one.
That's a politician. But how they label these acts? Safe Neighborhood and Schools Act. So average voter out there, what do they want? Oh, I want a safe neighborhood and school. Yes. Well, now we're releasing, this was the solution to our overcrowding in California prisons. So now we're releasing a bunch of prisoners, and they're out recommitting crimes and upping their game, getting more violent. I think crime overall in California is up close to 25%, something like that. Violent crimes up, property crimes up. We have our hands tied in law enforcement, because the citizens voted on something, and you talk to them, hey, why is crime in my community going up? Well, did you vote for Prop 47 or 57? Yeah, I voted for both. Okay, so the crime's going up because you directly impacted that. Well, it said safe neighborhoods and schools. Okay, well, is your neighborhood safer or your schools better? No. Okay, well, maybe you should actually read the fine print of what they're putting out there and not read the headline, which is commonly misleading.
Yeah, I'd say close to 100% there with the media.
Yeah.
Jeez. Would you be surprised if I said I'm shocked about all of that?
Well, see, the difference is that, people that take, you obviously take your time to understand what's going on in government and, a lot of overreach and a lot of, media, right now there's no accountability in media. You can print or have a story on whatever you want and be 100% incorrect and then just move on to the next day, and maybe print, a little story on page 57 that says, hey, we were incorrect about the story, but no one ever reads that far, because that's what the used car classifieds, so they just run rampant, and it's just smearing and slandering. And, it's the day that we've gotten into where there's, all these anonymous sources, and then these stories turn out to be false. What credibility does anyone have, especially the media these days? Like I said, that goes on both sides of the coin.
Yeah, homework's not really hard to do, especially anyone with a smartphone can figure that one out.
Yep.
For the most part.
Well, Pat, you
Immediate
were
action.
asking
Yeah.
immediate
I'm sorry.
action. Immediate action. You said, tactical or otherwise, or this or that. Well, the first thing you could do is go out there and get a door
That's what I was steering for.
The softball lob.
That was a softball.
That was a giant softball.
Got a little carried away there. Sorry.
No, that's good. I love this stuff, man. I could do this all day.
Hey Pat, you shoved the soapbox over to Chris. That was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, happy to do it.
I'll share it with you. I'm happy.
That's funny. He stood up on it. That's weird. Chris never does that. Yeah, well, people can visit us on our website, www.doorjamm.com. Grab yourself a DoorJamm, and you can also, if you want to see what people have done with it before and what other customers have, how they've applied it out there, you can visit us on Instagram. Same thing. It's DoorJamm with 2 M's. And the other thing I think immediate action you can do to improve yourselves is, I think too many people sit on ideas about what they're thinking about that can change the world or do to better themselves, their family, whatever, and they sit on the idea. The best thing, I think, the most immediate thing you can do is just try it. Just go try. What can you do? Is it going to be any worse than it was today? Just go try it. That's what I suggest, and that's kind of how this spawned. This venture for Chris and myself. We were training on bicycles. This is the way I remember it. We were training on bicycles for the police unity tour, and we'd be riding 40, 50 miles and riding bicycles next to each other and talking the whole way. And we'd be talking about the problem of, things would come up. We'd solve the world's problems actually when we were on those bicycles. And one of those was these locked doors and all that. And we talked about it, and then we went on the Unity tour, and months passed by, and we never did anything about it, but we sat on it for a long time. And then I called Chris up and like, hey, remember we were talking about, doing that thing for the doors when we were training? He's like, yeah, dude, let's just go make them. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, how do we do it? I don't know. Let's just go figure it out. Come on. And that's what we did. And we didn't open the doors until August of 2016. That's when we started selling. But all throughout the year, like probably from January, maybe even before January of 2016, or maybe December 2015, we were hustling and trying to figure out how to make this work, and making samples and breaking things and failing and until we came up with trial and error until we came up with something that we just couldn't break. And then we tried to break it again.
Awesome.
and let it take
bigger than us try to break it.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, let's let it go out there in the world and let them try to break it. And so that's what I'm saying. The most immediate thing you can do is just give your idea a try. Maybe it'll work. And if you start to enjoy it, keep going. But if you hate it, stop. There you go.
The initial sketch and dimensions of our product were actually drawn on a flight from LA to New York for a police unity tour ride. Shout out to Chapter 37 out in New York. They host us. Thank you guys. But that concept came out on a plane ride. We were sitting next to each other, and we're like, hey, let's start working on this idea. Came out with the dimensions and kind of moved forward more rapidly from that point on. So find some time. If you got a partner or someone that you're working with, find time for each other and just get out there and do it. It's not gonna get done by itself. The worst thing that that can happen is you don't try it, and you could have been successful.
And one of the worst things that can happen too is that you suck at it. But I think I tell people all the time.
Well, that's true.
And that's how
at least you tried.
When we started this podcast, I remember us saying to each other, "Man, the audio quality really blows for that," and we did not know what we were doing. And I think we said the first step to being good at something is sucking at it. So.
When you fail, you pick yourself up and you learn from your mistakes, and failure is just one more step towards improvement.
Yep. And you learn a lot you learn a lot along the way. You learn a ton. So even through the failures, you learn stuff, and you don't have to learn that again. It's amazing. Just give it a shot.
All right, last Liberty question here for the guests. Do you have any? This was our recommended reading question. Do you have any recommended reading or YouTubing or podcasting or anything like that that you can recommend to the audience so that they can better themselves in any way, or just maybe quirky or interesting? Or I mean, the floor is yours for however you want to answer that one.
Steve, you want to go ahead?
Sure. I'll go ahead. I've got a couple, and I think it's mostly a couple of podcasts, and it's not necessarily in the liberty movement, but it
doesn't matter.
But it might give yourself some freedom, because I think in the public safety sector, you're just one bad call away from not being able to work in this job again. I mean, you never know when you're going to be chasing somebody down and you twist a knee and all of a sudden you need a knee replacement and you're out of a job. Mm-hmm. Or you're out of your primary source of income for a long time. And to that end, I look for things that help me on the side. So whether some people are into stocks, all right, and some people are into investing in houses. Some people are into having a part-time job flipping burgers. I don't know. Or some people are dedicated to working just as much overtime as possible to have a side income. But anyway, one podcast in particular that I like to listen to, I learn a lot from, is Side Hustle Nation. It's all about coming up with a side hustle, from just the thought to making things better, to developing your whole side idea. Maybe you have a full-time 9-to-5 job, and then you got something on the side that's completely unrelated. So that's what that helps with. And the other one is that I've been listening to lately, besides yours, Pat, is Business and the Badge. A couple of firefighters here in Southern California have started a podcast that focuses primarily on firefighters and police officers who want to create a business. Cool. And whether it's public safety related or not, like ours happens to be applicable. Our product is applicable to the public safety environment, but there's people on their show that have business that are completely unrelated to anything having to do with public safety. Some of these guys are real estate agents or investors of some other type, or they've come up with a completely separate business model that has taken off, and they've sold sold the business off to someone. So Business and the Badge podcast is pretty cool, because you get to hear great interviews from other people who are from a law enforcement or firefighters walk of life, and hear about the ideas that they had and what they did about it, and then how they grew it to get where they are. So they're probably like 21 episodes in or so. So they've been putting out some pretty good content. It's nice.
Awesome. I'll check them out. I'm familiar with Side Hustle, but that sounds cool. Business and the Badge.
Yep.
Is that it? We're going to switch questions to the... I'm still trying to get your names and voices tied together, but whoever didn't answer yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris,
you're up.
Some of the stuff that I listen to, a lot of the stuff that I think that stops people in their day-to-day stuff is mindset. And a lot of the stuff that I listen to, or books that I've read and even seen in person, is by Lieutenant Colonel Grossman. And he talks a lot about mindset, and a lot about it relates to law enforcement a lot. Military and law enforcement kind of go hand in hand, and tactical mindset. Just being prepared. But listening to him has helped a lot in day-to-day preparation. You have to expect the worst and hope for the best. And if the worst happens, you're prepared. If you don't expect the worst, you're going to be flat-footed and knocked on your ass. And then you're going to be struggling to get up and figure out what the hell's going on. So having that mindset, whether it be in business or police work or whatever it may be, Having that right mindset is going to be key to success.
Hey, Chris, and what format are you listening to, Lieutenant Colonel Grossman? Is that, do you hear him speak, or do you mean like reading his
So,
books, or what?
so I've seen
Hmm.
him speak in person. And then there's several YouTube videos about Lieutenant Colonel Grossman of speeches that he has done.
Okay, cool.
So you just go on YouTube, look him up, um, and it's Grossman.
I'll make sure
Um,
that that's in the links are in the show notes today for his stuff,
yeah,
for
he
all the
has
stuff
some
you mentioned.
he has some great speeches, very good speeches. And he doesn't only teach to police and military. He goes out and does business conferences and kind of
Huh.
incorporates what he's putting out to whatever field. One class that I went to was actually tailored towards school teachers and school administrators. But a lot of the concepts are basic. You can apply it to any sort of career or task that you're trying to achieve.
I liked him. My first introduction to him was my close quarters combat school in Camp Lejeune. He came and talked to our class, which is pretty cool. He was
Yeah,
really motivating, to say the least.
he has one of those voices where it demands that you give him the room,
Yeah,
and it's once your listeners hear it, like it's just, hey, shut the fuck up, he's talking.
that's funny.
He just holds your attention, and it's fascinating, it's interesting.
I did on Uncensored Tactical. I did a book review for his book. I've never gone on one single deployment overseas without his book on combat as my Bible just sitting in my rack with me. I read that thing cover to cover a number of times. Big fan.
Yep.
Okay, well, we slammed through those. So the floor is yours, guys, if you want to talk more about your product or how people can find it. I mean, although it's pretty simple, you go to doorjam.com with 2 M's, and on Instagram, which is where I follow you guys, and I love it. But anything that we haven't talked about that you want to, you can slam into, or we can go longer, or we can end it, or I mean, it's up to you guys.
Yeah, just to add to the Instagram, take a look at our Instagram and our website and see the different uses that our product has. And I'm 100% sure that you guys will be surprised and impressed by the type of product that we put out and the versatility, mainly through some of these pictures. Look at the comments, read the comments from people that are, commenting on different pictures, and people that we've tagged in the photos that have allowed us to share their story. This thing comes in handy. We even have it's kind of hard to sell to our own department or fire department because we work, in our city, um, without the conflict of interest. But I've had a call. The most memorable call for me was we had a call of a baby not breathing, 2 week old.
Oh,
Um, and any person, especially law enforcement officer, that's when everything goes out the window. I don't think I've ever driven as fast in my life. I have 2 kids myself, and you can't help but put yourself in those shoes. Is that my kid? Or could that be my kid? And how fast you'd want someone to get there. So get there, and what do we have? We have a freaking 8 foot high fence that's locked, and the person that called is not answering the phone. There's no one around to get us inside. Um, there's three of us there. Two of us lifted one of the partners over. He went around, opened the gate for us. I threw a door jam on there. We went around, got to the apartment. Fire department's coming by. At that point there was no trash cans, anything like that. And I had a door jam, luckily. And firefighters got there and they said, "Hey, whose product was there?" We got in, no problem. There was nobody around. So even they're noticing, and just that extra, minute, however long it takes for them to get there to get the aid to, whether it be your loved one, your neighbor, whoever it may be. Seconds count, and they got there no quick, and they were impressed. So that's my little 2 bit speech. I'll get off this pedestal now. You can have the soapbox.
Yeah. I think we've talked the product up quite a bit. We've told people all kinds of things about it, but I want to encourage those people who are out there who tend to skimp on stuff and they want the department to issue this and all that. Just take a few dollars and invest it in yourself and something that you can use over and over again. You may never ever need it to actually save a life, but man, the peace of mind you will feel while you're on the locked side of that, knowing that your partners can get to you, is very comforting. I work on a mental health team. I do evaluations with a clinical social worker and a partner. And when we're doing evaluations on people who are mentally ill, sometimes things don't go very well. Sometimes they do. But those times that we never know when that's going to come. So when we go into a secured environment, like a condominium building or an apartment building or whatever, I always make sure to put that on, because I've been in more than one scuffle with a mentally ill person who's schizophrenic and high on meth. And while I'm holding him down and still not able to get handcuffs on with two officers using all of our strength, I know that the DoorJamm's holding that door, so the next 2 or 3 officers that come in don't need to climb the wall. They can just breeze on through the gate. That comforting feeling is worth $10 to me. It makes me feel a lot better.
And it has uses for all different types of coppers out there. I mean, he works a homeless outreach. I work financial crimes as a detective. Most of the time we're at our desk, but we do go serve warrants. And we do go into these buildings. And it's something that your back isn't going to get there right away, where you're just going to be able to hold a door. It's going to be all hands on deck if something gets down, and you're going to want them to get in there fast. You throw it in your pocket, throw it on your vest. I work on our SWAT team. I have 3 of them on my vest that I carry at all times. Sometimes I put a couple in my pocket if I know we're going to hit an apartment or something like that, or a larger building. You always got to have how you're going to use it. And when you do, it pays off.
And coming from a guy that hates adding new stuff to his gear for the weight and the size, I have added it to my gear, and I'm very happy about it.
Cool.
All right, fellas. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I'm really glad we got you on here and we got you to talk about your products. And I just want to give you a big thank you from me and my 2 co-hosts, who I'm sure will listen to this entire thing before it airs.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having us on, Pat. And